Okay, I see. All right, so Dean actually wants to see two different types of comparisons. So the current bar versus the last 10 bars, or the current bar versus the 10th bar back. All right, yeah, let's do the easy one first here. So, all right, so we're going to use a comparison solver here to do this. So the easiest comparison here to demonstrate is going to be the current bar, right, versus the right 10th bar back. Right, that'll be the easiest comparison here. So let me put, so both input A and input B need to be set to price. Right, so input B needs to be set to price as well. So by default, right, when you set the input, to price, it's looking at the current bar's price. So if you want to compare to the 10th bar back, right, you just need to add 10. So that's going to be 11, look back period of 11. And the look back mode here, the look back processing, just leave it on single value. So it's looking, single value just means looking at that one bar. Just look at, the 10th bar back. So there we have it. So let's, there. All right. So that's what we're comparing here. So if we slide that back a little bit, all right. So we're comparing that close to that close. And if we step forward a little bit, there we go. We're comparing that close, there you go, to that close. And, and don't forget, I had half a point in this comparison solver by accident. So there, let's clear that out. There we go. There. All right. No wonder there were gaps, right? I mean, normally I would not expect to see that many bars with no output. So if there's no output, then that tells you that the closing prices equal each other. Yeah, so if we go back to this, there. There we have it. All right, so those closing prices equal each other. All right, so now the next comparison here, let's grab another comparison solver. All right, so now we're going to compare the current bar to the last 10 bars. And remember, you need to exclude the current bar, right? You cannot include the current bar with the last 10 bars, right? So again, the input A is going to be price. So there, now we have the closing price of the current bar. Now, since we need to exclude the current bar from the last 10 bars, we actually can't use the solver's built-in price type. Not currently. So, because there's no displacement function within, right? There's no displacement function in here. So we actually need this displacement function so that way we can exclude the current bar, right? We need to exclude input A, from input B's data, right? So we need to set the displacement to 1. So how do we get, how do we find basically the highest high, right, or the lowest low of the last 10 bars? without using the price as the input type? Well, we can use chameleon. So we'll use chameleon to do that. So we're going to open up, so we're going to go to the Shark Indicators folder and then go into Tools and select chameleon. And yeah, we could use chameleon, or we could also use, let's see, what is it? There we go. The Donchian channel. There we go. The Donchian channel does the same thing. You know, it tracks the highest high and the lowest low of whatever the period is. All right, so the Donchian channel is doing the same thing as what we're doing with chameleon here. But I'll pull up chameleon, and what we're going to do is set the look back period to 10. All right, and then the high bounds plot basically is going to be the highest high of the look back period, so the highest high of the last 10 bars. And the low bounds is going to be, right, the bar with the lowest low of, yeah, it's going to be the lowest low of the last 10 bars. And I'm just thinking to myself, well, what if you wanted the highest high of the closing price versus the lowest lowest closing price? Well, I guess you would need your own custom indicator for that. Yeah, you would need to customize an indicator that's going to track, you know, the highest close of the last 10 bars and the lowest closing price of the last 10 bars. Yeah, you need some kind of indicator to do that. You know, I guess if somebody knows how to do a little bit of coding, somebody could take the Donchian channel indicator and just do a simple modification of it and modify it so that it only looks at the closing price, not the high and low price of the bar. So yeah, so for this example, we're going to have to compare the high of the bar to the high of the bar and the low of the bar to the low of the bars. Okay. So I have to go back to input A. You know, so if I want to compare apples to apples, I need to go back to input A and change the long, change that to the high price, and take the short and change that to the low price. There. And so now let's take a look. All right, so there we have it. So if you look at this bar's high, right, it's higher than the high of, you know, the last 10 bars, which would be this bar. And let's see what else we have. So if we look at this one, right, same thing. So this bar's high. Yeah, let's zoom that back. There we go. So this bar's high, right, is higher than the high of the last 10 bars. And then if we go over here, well, this bar's high, right, is not higher. So there we go. There. And let's take a look at the low prices here. So this bar had made the lowest low of the last 10 bars right there. And right, so the current bar is lower than the lowest low of the last 10 bars. All right. So the key here is to remember that, you know, for input B, you need to have a displacement of 1 so that you're not including the current bar in your look back. Okay, so that is, let's see, 2 of Dean's questions here. All right, and the final one here is Dean would like to see how to identify if the closing price is 3 points away from a moving average. Yeah, 3 points or more. I guess, yeah, it'd be 3 points or more away from a moving average. So, okay. So again, we're going to grab another comparison solver. So, and there is already a video out there doing this, but this is so quick and easy to do here. Let's see here. So, yeah, all right. So input A is going to be price again. And actually, let's name this here first. All right. And since I already have an EMA 20 on my chart, I'm going to just use that EMA again, so I don't have to add another indicator to my chart. So, all right, there's the EMA. And set it to 20 period. And now I need to set up the difference between input A and input B. So we want 3 points. Like so. There. So the key here is to get your outputs set correctly, and the default is already set up correctly here. So we can see if A is greater than B, or basically A above B by 3 points or more, we're going to get an output. All right, so if the closing price is 3 points above the EMA 20, we're going to get a long output. Or if the closing price is less than or below B by 3 points, we're going to get a short output. And so remember, right there, the white line is the EMA 20. So yeah, so there we go. So we can see we have one bar here that's 3 points away from the EMA 20. And then when it reverses down, right, it comes within, it's within 3 points. All right, that distance there is within 3 points, so there's no output. And then, of course, when it reverses back up, now there's a 3 point, gap between the close and the EMA again. All right, so there is the third question. Dean wants to actually see 3 points or less. Okay, yeah. So if you want 3 points or less, Dean, then, yeah, as mentioned, it's a matter of adjusting your outputs here, right? So right now, we're using the A greater than B by 3 points or more, right? So if you want 3 points or less, then it would be A equals B within 3 points. So we'll just use that one instead. So there you have it. So basically, we just reversed everything now. So now, right, so actually, yeah, you remember over here, this close was 3 points away, right? And then on this down bar, there was no output because this close is within 3 points of our EMA. Right, so basically we just reversed everything now. So, right, so you just want the A equals B within 3 points. All right, yeah, so Dean has a follow-up question. So Dean's asking, so with the large and small amount, right, so we have the large amount and the small amount, with both of those set to 3, wouldn't that give a signal only at 3? No. So the reason why, I always set the large amount and small amount to the same is to remove the fuzzy logic, right? By default, all solvers default to calculating fuzzy logic. By the nature of having a large amount and a small amount, that forces a fuzzy logic calculation by default, right? But when you set the large amount and small amount the same, right, then that strips out the fuzzy logic. Because if you read the output, it says A greater than B by 3 points or more, and A greater than B by 3 points, right? So if I set if I set the small amount to 1, and I need to reset this, right? And then if you read this, it says A greater than B by 3 points or more. That's the large amount. And then the small amount is set to 1 point. And so the other output says A greater than B by 1 point. Right? So, so basically a ratio between these two comparisons, right? A ratio between those two comparisons is what generates the fuzzy logic output. That's where the fuzzy logic comes from, is the ratio between the 3 point and 1 point difference. So if there is no gap, right, if there is no difference between the large amount and small amount, then effectively you strip out a ratio between the two. And if there's no ratio between the large amount and small amount, then there's no fuzzy logic that can be calculated. So anyways, that's the short version of it. So, Dean has a lot to digest for today.